In the first letter the Rebbe sent to Professor Green, it's actually a letter that was written in the week of Parshas Yisro, this week's Parsha, and the Rebbe discusses there about Aseret Adibros. The Rebbe points out something that is very interesting about the Aseret Adibros. Aseret Adibros starts with the two first dibros are Anoichi and Lo Yelecha, two dibros which discuss very lofty ideas, things that are very not necessarily very practical and relevant to day-to-day actions, things that are matters of belief. And they discuss it at length, literally with words Anoichi and Lo Yelecha, and it goes on with details of all that is involved in those two dibros. Then on the other hand, when we move to the end of the Aseret Adibros, it actually is the other extreme, where we talk about very, very basic, mundane matters that are relevant to every individual, and he can totally understand it on his own, and seemingly things that might not even need to be a commandment at all, altogether. Leisirtzach, leisinov, these are very, very basic, mundane matters. And the Rebbe points out over there in the letter to Professor Green, that this is the uniqueness of what's here. A person who believes in the Eibishter, a person who has a full, real belief, that belief cannot stay in a lofty, abstract world. It has to be something which translates into practical actions. And therefore, even though Aseret Adibros starts with the most lofty ideas, ultimately, it comes to very, very specific and basic requirements of what a person actually needs to do, commandments on the most basic matters. On the other hand, if a person does all those things, not because he believes in them, but rather because he just came to the understanding that these are things that need to happen, then those things can actually change, and one day he might actually behave in a different manner. The Rebbe gives an example to that, from the Nazis, obviously, which were officially very, very cultured, but at the end of the day, they turned to be what they became. This concept that the Rebbe brings in the letter is something which can really be translated and applied to so many different areas in life, in particular in the area of chinuch, that when we talk about the idea of chinuch, when we talk about raising children, when we talk about avodas Hashem, eres Hashem, and all different matters like that, it has to translate ultimately to ma'aseh v'poel. It has to translate to basic, specific details. And this is the only way that this is actually going to capture the individual and make him involved in it in a practical manner. And at the same time, make sure that everything that we actually do, we can reinforce and need to reinforce always the connection and the understanding, and learn when we do a mitzvah, what is the source of the mitzvah, what is the meaning of the mitzvah, etc., etc. So those concepts that a person needs to always have the belief and translate the belief into practical, mundane actions is a lesson that we can take from this week's Parsha, this letter that the Rebbe sent to Professor Green.